Hello, I'm Jennifer. My understanding of God has been formed by my childhood and by my experience later. When I say formed, I don't mean that I've arrived at anything. It's very much a work in progress. And it's only with hindsight that I can see the development. As a child, I was very devout. I was baptized as an Anglican, and in fact, I was confirmed. And I sang in the church choir and carried the flag for the guides and all that. I'm not sure what my concept of God was at that time, probably not far off an old man on a cloud, but it was obviously a comforting thing for me. My family were very mixed, religiously speaking. My mother was an agnostic Jew. My father became a Catholic when I was 5, and my brother was an atheist. So actually from the age of 5 onwards, I was the only Anglican in the family, which was very bizarre. But that all ceased when I was about 18. It sort of went underground. I think my life moved into relationships with boys and university and building career and all that. And I was quite comfortable, apparently, with that for many years. And then, many years later, about 15 years ago, my marriage had broken up. My daughter was diagnosed with a serious illness, and I was in a very dark place. And I think I cracked open. I became aware of another dimension. This wasn't conscious. I didn't know what was going on. It was so disturbing, but it was totally irresistible, whatever was going on. I had no choice but to pursue it. So I started going to various services at churches around me and running out and feeling they were just not for me. And then one day I remembered seeing a sign outside a Quaker meeting house and thought I'd give it a go. I don't remember knowing very much about it. And I found peace. And I started reading about Quakers. I didn't talk to people to begin with because it all felt so frightening and new and tender and like walking on eggshells. But what I was reading was electrifying, and I thought, how can this be religion? This is me. And a completely different sense of religion. And I recognize now that it was God, the Spirit, working in me. I couldn't have told you at the time that it was. So that first, later experience was very much of a dynamic spirit within me. And as for my understanding now, I would never try to define God as completely undefinable. But my experience falls into various categories, I suppose. So one is of a guiding force. One is of the life force and the uniqueness of every created being. Meister Eckhart, the medieval mystic, said that every creature is a word of God, but also the connecting principle, the connection between all of us, the interdependence of all living creatures, what I feel when I look into somebody else's eyes, what I feel when my heart moves when I see something beautiful in nature. My understanding of God is also of a being not defined by time or space, of which I occasionally catch a glimpse, maybe in meeting for worship, maybe at a moment when time stands still, when you have a sense of eternity in that moment. When I look at the stars and I think what I'm seeing was actually thousands of years ago, that gives me a sense of the immensity of God. So God is the universe, but also, as the Muslims say, closer than my jugular vein. And God as purpose, constantly creating with people as co-creators, constant resurrection, revelation, an ongoing process. And God is there all the time. It's just me that isn't always there to access God. And it's not so much what God is, but that God is.